We'll start with the PPT for Module 7. Okay, I think for Module 7, we are on advanced report types. Basically, most of the part we have covered around the sub-filtering options, prompts, populated undefined prompts. These we have covered. The differences between sample and advanced reports, advanced filtering options and prompts. We have seen how to get a user-based prompt, how to get a dynamic or a static prompt. And we have covered all of this, how to change an advanced report, the edit options available to us once we have already created an advanced report, like how we can change the data source or a data source filter, how can we add certain kind of fields or prompts once the definition has been created. Okay, so
we didn't see anything about calculated.
Yeah, we have not. Yeah, even in this PPT you will not see, but yes, we'll cover that.
It's there in the PPT, I think, slide 20 says, I think slide 20 says about calculated fields there.
It just says about, it's
20.
Not, it will say about calculated fields, but yes, in detail, I think it has not covered anything. So I will be covering this during our class. Yeah. So like the different types of calculated fields that are available for you to create. And
in fact, the field relationship, the next one also, I believe.
Field relationships. I think field relationships is something we saw, right? In the last two sessions, the dependency between primary business object and a related business
example.
Oh yes, address example. So yeah, how we relate a primary business object to a related business object and derive the links and get the links from the related business objects. Okay, that's field relationships. Okay, so let me just log into tenant. So for you guys as well, I think tenant will look similarly. You will not have credentials. You will just log into the tenant and it will automatically put in your credentials. And I think one of the key things we were not able to do, then I told you that I'll figure out my access. So it was an access issue only. So it was about scheduling a report. So I'll start from there and I will try to proxy someone who has access. Okay, because I think there was a question that can we schedule a report directly from the report definition. So this report by employees. So this was the report we created, and since my access was limited to certain things, we were not able to see the schedule option. So this is where you can ask. Sorry, 1 second. Give me a second. Okay, yeah. So this is the thing where you can go and schedule a report. Otherwise, there is also one task which is available to you. Schedule a report that you can use. This will have options of selecting first the report, then the run frequency. But I'll encourage you or suggest you to go from the report definition itself, and then you go to the schedule task, and you'll see the report name already been pulled up. Now on the run frequency, we'll have a lot of options. The first one is run once in the future. So this is only for running once. Say you have created a custom report or thing and you want to test it after creating certain test cases. So in the next couple of days, you create some certain test cases, and those are like having different kind of effective dates and entry dates. So once the transactions have been completed, you want to fetch the data. So you will report once. Then there are daily occurrences. If something needs to be done on a daily basis, if you have scheduled it and want the report output to be available in your inboxes daily. Then weekly, monthly, dependent, and custom recurrence. Custom is something within the tab you can select how the frequency would look like. So I will go ahead and select, say, weekly recurrence, and I'll click on OK. Okay. Now you see from here, we have the same kind of prompts which were available when we run the report, right? So there were 3 default prompts, one of which we marked as do not show at runtime. So that prompt won't be available for you or wouldn't be available on the scheduling thing because we do not want to prompt that. And then we have a determined value at runtime for start date and end date. So this is where we select dynamic values from calculated fields. Okay, say we select or even we can provide static values as well. Like if it is just for a particular period you always want to run. So I will say current date minus current effective date 2 years ago. So what we can see is from the related action, we can also see what this calculated field does. So if we have any doubts like what it is doing, it name says it is looking 2 years back, but we want to see how it is happening. So this is a calculated fields, and once you create calculated fields, it will look like this, and there will be based upon the operation selected or the type of calculated field selected, which is as increment or decrement date, the related fields will pop up. First will be the date field, like the date which you want to take as a base. So they have selected current effective date, which is basically the system date. When the report runs, it will be data based upon the server configuration, and then there would be date creation using subtraction or addition from the year, month, and days. And you can also go down to the levels of hours, minutes, seconds, milliseconds. Okay. So what they are doing is they are just looking back 2 years from now. So I will select this date as the starting point, and I will select today or current moment. Okay, so this is something you already know when you run a report. We saw from the EIB as well, but this is something new for the scheduling part on a report for you guys. So if you see recurs every week, it will tell you like how many times you want to run it. Like say you want to run it 2 times in a week, it will give you 2. If you want to give 1 time, days of the week, you'll have to select the days. Okay, so if it is 2, then you'll have to select, say, we'll give 2 here, and I will select, say, it will run on every Wednesday as well as Fridays. Okay, then we'll have to select the time based upon the server, what time zone you want to run. I want to run in late time on around 5 a.m. And then within 5 a.m. we have an interval of 5 minutes, like 5, 5:05, 5:10, 5:15. I want to run it on 5:30 a.m. So catch-up behavior says one, like say if a tenant is not available or something, then it will run once, or it will run again and again. It will none or run once.
Can you go a little up?
Yeah.
So here you say run frequency weekly, and
right.
On the top, because you selected before coming to this page, but when you are giving the parameters for a recurrence, I don't understand. I was in an assumption that the weekly recurrence will have all these parameters, that what time it has to start, when it has to end, something like that.
No, that's where we have this level of customization. It can be like you want to schedule it weekly, or you said schedule it weekly, but you want to run twice a week. Okay, so this comes handy when you want to run more than once in a week. It says weekly recurrence, but you have this level of customization that even in the weekly, you can run it multiple times. You can have a similar setup from daily recurrence as well, but then yes, those options will differ. If you want, I can show.
So that weekly recurrence is a delivered option, and we cannot create anything.
Right.
Deliver object, right?
Yeah, those drop downs, what we saw in the previous screen, like, that is delivered, like daily, custom, everything is delivered. So you'll have to select accordingly. Say you want to do a monthly, but in the monthly itself, you want to do like run on particular days, like on 15th and 30th. So you can do that, or maybe on the custom creation, you can do that. Okay. Yeah. We'll have to give a start date. So start date would be today's, and say I want to end this scheduler at the year end, and then later on maybe you want to just go ahead and terminate this, so it will automatically get terminated. This schedule would get terminated on the last day of this recurrence. Okay, then after the start date, 1 second, I think the date parameters are here. Okay, then you want to report it as a PDF, an Excel, or a text file to be deleted after 5 days. This is like the output file retention policy. How many days output file will stay for you to be downloadable, and then do not output at an empty report. This is something like if the data is not there, you do not generate a file. And I think that's it. At least one value specified for days of the week must be the day of the week associated with the start date. Okay, so the day of the week we started is Tuesday, or maybe since we started Wednesday, I'll select 29th. Okay, so whenever there is a red prompt or a red error, you cannot proceed, right? So that's why we need to clear all those red errors. And if there are orange highlights or warnings, if it is something you want to review and remove, you can, but yes, you can proceed ahead with the orange ones. So we have cleared out all the warnings. So once this has been created, you see a we schedule future processes there. And on the additional info, if you'll go ahead and see the frequencies it has been created for. So it will firstly run on 2901 5:30 a.m. PST. Then later on, it will run on 3101. And the third occurrence will happen on 12th of February and then 14th of February and so on. Okay. Any doubts on how to schedule or how to view, or you want to see any of the other kind of frequency setups for me to demonstrate, or you want to explore it yourself?
So what is the
Aryan,
basic,
go ahead.
yeah. So what is the basic purpose of this schedule reports, Aryan? And the other question is like, you can schedule this report. Output is in this report itself, or are we delivering to any other people and any other resources?
So output would be like anyone who has that share. If you remember the sharing options with this
Okay.
during the report creation, so that would be shared. So basically, I would say this is something the HR admins or the end users will use. They do not want to go ahead and see every month's hires or terminations by running the report every time. So what they will do is like go ahead and schedule their report to run on the first day of every month. So they will do it, and whenever they log into the first day of every month, it will be available in their inboxes and under their My Report sections, and they can just review the data instead of running that every time, or maybe they do not have this technical things to schedule or run the report every time. What we will do is like set up this for them, and so that they can just view the data going forward.
So it's basically these reports are for HR admins.
Right, like the basic purpose is because what we are doing is scheduling it, and the output would be available within tenant. So anyone who has access to the tenants and or the end users, they will be reviewing this data.
Okay.
For integration purposes, so we have a different kind of scheduling, which is through the integration, which we saw, right? Like EIB has been scheduled. EIB would be scheduled, and there would be a delivery associated with the EIB. So every time the EIB would run, based upon the run frequency, it will deliver the output file based upon the delivery. So say the delivery has been configured to SFTP, it will deliver the file directly to the third party or the vendor's SFTP. So that is an advantage, or that is something, a use case which is more relevant to us in terms of integration.
So Gautam, if we want to send the report to third party, it's always through integration.
Right. You do not have a mechanism to directly send the report, or even what you can do is like we saw the URLs or the web service enabled feature, right? You can share that URL and then they can run the report based upon the URL. I'll call the report from a RAS report from a Postman or a third party tool.
But that is just with the report, correct? If you are integrating with EIB, for example.
Right.
So there is a downstream application or a program need to run after this report. So the scheduling has to be done here or in EIB in that case.
Right. So in the scheduling needs to be done on the EIB in that case. If you want to schedule and deliver the output report to the third party vendor, then the scheduling needs to be done on the EIB level, where you will configure the delivery options, because I'll show you once we have those EIBs.
Yeah. Thank you.
And if we want to have a report parameter like last successful run, right? Like if I run this report 2 times and the second time it failed, so it should pick up the first run time stamp, right? So How can we configure that?
So I would say that is a different kind of report where you can do. So all these reports, all the examples we see, we do not do a changes only kind of setup. Whatever is there in the tenant, it will come up. But what you are asking is, say, get a changes only kind of transaction. So those are based upon business data, like different data source, which is BPT reports, business process transactions, which like derive the data from the worker event. Like the worker history I showed you, like all the events or the changes for a worker or a person in Workday are showed as or displayed as events, or the transactions are displayed as events. So once we create a report based upon those events, then only we can do that from last effective run date or from last run date. So I will show you once, maybe if we have an option here, the report you wanted to, or the field you wanted to see, right? 1 second.
So that is done on report itself, right? Or it's done on the integration?
No, that you can do it even in the scheduling part, like where we have these prompts, right? So the dynamic prompt will say the start date would be from the last effective run, and then the end date would be current effective run or the current date. Okay. And then you can schedule it accordingly. But you cannot do this on the start date. We'll have a effective moment date or effective date kind of field available to us on which we can do that. Okay. I will see
You can show that.
you want, but that would need to be created. A whole together a report needs to be created.
But we can do it in our future class. We can.
Yeah, we can do it. Definitely, I will, because that is something I usually wanted to give you guys an assignment or a demo on to do. Like I just wanted you to have a use case where we want to report all the hires since the last month or since the last run. Then a BPT report would come in handy to us, because that's the only report, or the, I would say, only data source we can have that effective changes or the changes only set up on.
So what did you say? BPT report, business
BPT,
process?
yeah. Transactions. Let me show you. I will show you the temporary open out. Get this business. You see this data source? It says action accesses the action event as a primary business object and returns business transactions for all the business process types, includes optional prompts like business processes, completed date, event effective date range, initiated date range, and transaction status. Workday highly recommends to use business process transactions and date range, initiated date range, and completed as required prompts, because that improves performance. So once you go ahead and try to create a report from here, okay, and populate the default prompt. So you see you have different kind of date parameters available to you automatically. One is completed date, on or after, complete date, on or before, event effective date. So these are the parameters that is helpful, or that helps you to run certain kind of scenarios where you ask, you want to see something that has come up only since the last run and not the full file or the full setup of the transactions.
So how do we define what event if it's kind of a higher event?
So in this business process, okay, you will go here and determine value, or maybe specify value. Okay, say you want to have hire. Okay, you want to select change job, like anyone who has got a promotion or a change job has happened. Okay, if you say you want to report on terminations that has happened, so you will have termination. And then transaction status, you want to highlight only the transactions which have been completed, not like who have been initiated and not been completed all this while. So you can say successfully completed. You want to see anything which has been like a termination which has been, say, taken place successfully, but later on cancelled or rescind. Rescind is something like you roll back the business process, you roll back the termination. So then you'll have to select rescind. So this depends upon the use case or the business requirement we have, what kind of business process you want to select, the transaction status you want to select. But yes, this is the basic or the main data source I would say you should take a note on if you want to create a changes only report. Okay. Yeah.
I have a question. I have a couple of questions. First question is, if if there is any report is failed, so where can we see that logs, like why it is failed? And
For any report or integration as well, just you have this thing called process monitor. I'm not sure if you have had or worked on PeopleSoft as well. So there was a similar thing for process monitor, and process type would be, say, report. We will see like since 26 till now to this maximum number of rows you want to output, and you will click OK. So since this tenant is not widely used, so if there is any, say, reports which have been scheduled and run, it will capture in here, and you can go and see the status it has been like successfully completed or not, or error out, and if there is anything that action event, I will show you. Maybe
So is it just for schedule or any run?
No, report runs will not capture, but the error will pop out on your screen because that is like going live or in real time, right? I will show you maybe from an integration perspective, how this will look like. And again, I will start from January 1st. I hope this comes up with certain values. Okay, great. So you see, we ran the integration or schedule the integration with the test schedule. So you can go to the process. That process will show you the definition of the integration directly. So we were using an EIB with a custom data source, and delivery was a Workday attachment. We were not delivering anything outside of work. And then if you want to see if this is successfully completed or not, the status will show in here. If there are errors, it will come up on the event or in the request. If you see, if there would be errors, it will say status completed with warnings or errors, and you will be having the error logs in the messages. Okay, and the output file would not be there if it is an error. Output file will not get created. If it is a warning, output file will get created, but the warning will also be highlighted.
Okay, got it. And I have another question. So if the report, if we want to send to a particular department, like for example, if you want to send to a finance department for the report inside the Workday itself, so those people only they have to see the report, then how can we make it?
In the share tab, what you can do is go and custom report. I think this is coming because I'm proxying this person and I'm the owner of this report. I've not shared this with the person I'm able to, like, I'm proxying with as. So you see, this thing happens if you do not have access to it. The report definition, you won't be able to edit the report definitions. But yes, second, I'll show you this main trick. So there would be many instances that you won't be seeing more options, right? To transfer the ownership, we had one. To edit the report, we had one. So in such cases, you say, someone says, there is this report, I want to do this action. But you are seeing that you are not able to view this report. So as implementers or developers, what we have to do is not go to the security admin to ask them to give access, but we will go to this task, view custom report, and look for this report, the same report, right?
Yeah.
Then from view custom report, now we are able to see the view custom report. And then I think this is not coming up right now, but if you are an implementer, like I'll show you from the other one, if you're an implementer, then you will be able to see the definition from here, and then edit option will come. So say if you want to see a EVC report, they said they want to, and you are entering it on the search bar and it is not coming up. So all you need to do is go to this task, view custom report, and look for the definition from there. And thereon, from there, you can go and go ahead and edit the report. And on the share tab, you will do the first thing is share it with you. On the specified users, you will put your name for the purpose of saying to show to you, like on the based on the user group. I'll just stop proxy. So RD is the, I would say, the keyword to search for report definitions. Advanced. So it will directly open the advanced report definition. Since I was the owner and that is shared with me, either of these options are available. So you will see the edit button. Okay, from here, say this is the share with authorized users and groups.
Okay.
So say you want to select with HR admin. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Okay, then I think I just wanted to do an activity, but yeah, we do not have your tenants right now. So what we will do is look for certain kind of calculated fields on this report itself. Or maybe first, let me go ahead with the things that might be there, and the filtering is there. I think, yeah, calculated field is something.
I have a question here. So can we have parent child in the report? One report is completed and then we can schedule other one. I mean, kick off other one, something like that.
I think that might be doable from a business process perspective, but not from a report. If you want to, like, I'll show you the business process context later on when we develop integrations. So there is a thing called business process which sets up the flow of the events you want to do. Say you want to first run the core connector, okay, or maybe run the report first, and then from the same process flow or trigger you want to run the studio integration. So in those manner you can do that, like, or set up a sequential chain or if events beat any kind of integration or report you want to trigger, but not directly from the report.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So we will come to cal fields. So what are cal fields? Cal fields are custom fields. Like, don't confuse yourselves with the custom field. Like, we have the word custom field within Workday associated with custom objects. That's a different field. But yes, cal fields are advanced fields or custom fields with something which is not already delivered by Workday, but you want to fetch the data directly on this worker business object, or you want to do any arithmetic calculations, then you create cal fields. So there are two ways to create calculated fields. One is from this place where you see create cal field for report. So what it will do is like create a report specific calculated fields. Report specific as in this will be available only for this report to be used. But in real time, whenever we go for, say, implementation projects, what we have to do is try to create as many as possible tenant-wide calculated fields so that you are doing a similar activity and that cal field can be used in any of the other integrations or reports as well. So that becomes handy and you don't end up creating similar or duplicate objects or fields and like putting a load into your tenant. So just to decrease the number of duplicate objects, we encourage everyone to create global cal fields instead of report specific cal fields. So how do you create a global cal field or a tenant wide cal field? Is use a task called create cal field. Okay, yeah. Now you want to put a field name. So for calculated fields, we have CF mostly as the naming convention. We will put, say, the work. We want to create a worker business object, and then you will say want to put a full name kind of thing. You want to concatenate because you see there are fields first name and last name. We did not had any field on our report which will put up the whole name together. So we want to put something like that on our report. We'll select the work this business object similar to the primary business object or the object we want to add the field on. Otherwise, if you say create on an action event, you will end up creating the cal field, but you will not be able to put it on the report associated with this business object because the business objects are different. Okay, so now you see there are so many options available for us as function. So what is function? Function is basically defines the property or the nature of the cal field. Like if you want to do arithmetic calculations, if you want to do a concatenate text, if you want to convert a frequency, if you want to build a date is something like which we saw from the current event -2 years date. You want to have a date constant, you want to have a text constant, text length, true false. There are a whole lot of options available. I will walk you through like most of the important things, starting with a very simple example with a concatenate text. But one of the key cal fields that you will get to create during your real-time projects is a lookup related value, which is to look for a particular field that is not directly available on your primary business object, or you cannot derive it from a related business object. Then you will have to go back and create a cal field which says lookup related values. What it does is like extract something which is not directly available on that business object using a calculated field. Okay, and the other one would be extract single instance. Say like you have multiple instances of say phone numbers or email IDs, but you just want to report on the primary email ID or primary phone number of the worker. So you will, from the multiple instances or the multiple values of these fields, you want to report on one. So thereon we use the extract single instance. Another one would be a critical example would be a lookup value as of date. So what lookup value as of date does is like look up for a value as per the date. Say your compensation was 100,000 till 1st of January. Now it has increased by 10% or 20% or any amount. So, but you want to see like what it was before the change has happened. So you will look up at the basic salary of the employee based upon the effective date in the previous transaction before the transaction was done. So you will look up the base salary on as of date. That would be like say before 1st of Jan. So we'll look on the 31st of December. What was the value? So it will give you the previous value as well. So these are like very critical or important calculated fields. Apart from the basic ones, I would say you will get to explore it yourself because these are like doing certain kind of date calculations or creating a constant or a field. So we want to concatenate a full name. First name. I think this is the field, this is Workday delivered, but yes, we want to say put something as custom, like first name and last name, as in many of the places we have last name, comma, first name. Okay, so we want to do a similar thing. So what we will do is put last name, then we will have a constant global fields text. Okay, and then we will try to get a constant which is comma. So these are Workday delivered fields, and this is where I would like you guys to follow up. Like what I did is like I wanted to create a name format in the full name as like last name, comma, full name. Okay, so we will not be going ahead, or we cannot put a constant, and that constant needs to be created first. So first what we will do is like go to the global fields and look the thing what we are like eyeing on is available or not. We'll go to the text and we'll see like we wanted a comma. So these options are available. There are so many global fields which are available. So we'll see anything like this is available. We'll put it up and we will save. And what we will do is copy text, since this is a global cal field which has been created, or a tenant-wide cal field, it will be available for us to select in the report. If it was created for a specific report, a different report, not this one, you cannot access this cal field, and then you might need to copy this same cal field or get the cal field changed to do the similar function, and that would be rework. I think what it is giving in as an error is the CF is invalid based on the sort. Okay, I think one of the things I did was while testing it later that has happened is this concurrence request. Okay, this is a Workday error. I'll try to save it or maybe refresh the page. At times you face certain situations where server might get impacted, but this generally happens in our training sessions or training tenants like DBT in the implementations or live tenants. For customers, this kind of things do not happen. Like you'll have a server timeout or a concurrency event, because these are like downgraded versions in terms of capacity or effectiveness. Okay, desktop. I'll try to open the again. Then okay, so this is the cal field we created as this. So yeah, one of the handy things to copy the name, I would say, is for you to just like, these are the tips I would suggest you to follow. It's like instead of copying the name like from this URL, maybe at times a URL will get copied. You just click on the object, like move your cursor on the object, do a right click, and then you will have options like to open it in a new tab, copy the URL, and then copy the text. So once you copy the text, only the name gets copied, and you can put it in here and full name as the header. Now you see, since we enabled this report as a web service enabled, there is something coming up as column or column heading override for XML alias. XML alias is nothing like, but I will show you with XML open right now. Maybe I'll show you in a notepad what XML will look like. So for XML, you will have a worker object on the output. Okay, this worker object will open and then close like this. Okay, and then you will have different namespaces or different tags for each of the fields. So for F name, it is coming name. So maybe it can be changed. So that's the flexibility it provides with this field, like override the XML alias. Say if it is saying as F name, right? And it will have this value, say ABC, or maybe it will have Aryan, my name, first name, it will close like this. Okay. And then we have, say, I change the XML alias to be a different thing from the column header. So I say last underscore name. So this would be similarly coming up on the XML alias. On the XML file, it will have, say, or, and then it will end up like this. Get, I think, on the employee ID again, MPL ID, and then it would be some number. Will end up like this. Okay. So the main purpose for me to just show you this kind of XML output is whatever you put in here, like you want XML or you are exposing this XML directly to the vendor, and they want that field headers or the XML alias of these columns are to be in a specific manner. They want something like full descriptions with underscores or with camel casing. You can do it in the report itself, and then from there on, it will directly output as in the manner specified on the report. Okay.
So this report output can be in XML?
Right. It can be. So whenever you run this in an integration, right, like in an EIB, when we'll see in the future sessions, there would be an options to get it in an XML. Or if you remember that initial or the test schedule I created for this report just to demonstrate how a scheduling would look like, the output came up on XML, right? So if you see the output, this was the output file, right? And if I open with, say, Explorer, so since the parameters we gave for this report was like something was not producing any data, but still the namespace of the report would come up. So even the blank report would come up like this XML version or the basic tags of the XML document and then the report definition. So this
was EIB, right? So,
right.
So if we have a simple report like what we have this advanced report, right? That will not be in the XML. It has to be in the integration format, and then we can have that.
Because a custom report or an advanced report, yeah, if you are scheduling, it will run on the tenant itself, right? So you will have Excel available to you, or in a table you can specify. But this comes handy when you are doing it through an integration. If you'll give a XML to someone, say an end user of Workday, she might not be able to identify or read this XML. All they want is a graphical representation of data, and then I believe a tabular format or an Excel format would be the best one.
Got it.
Okay.
I have a question. So, is the calculated field is associated to one primary object, right?
It is not one primary object. It is associated to the business object you create the calculated field on. If you remember, when I was creating this cal field, I mentioned the object I want to create this cal field on. So if this field has been created on a particular business object worker, I can use it only on the worker business object and not any other business object.
Okay, so the cal field can be associated to one business object.
Yes, particular business object, and can be used only on the same business object.
Okay. I have a question. So can we send like this particular report through to emails? Is there any option in integration or any in Workday itself?
in emails, in integrations, like from EIB, we can have that, but not directly through a scheduling a report. In EIBs, we have that, like we can have the output as CSV or an XML. We can have different kind of deliveries available. I think there are around 4 to 5 deliveries available to us. I will show you that, right? Okay. So now we are good. It is just a orange one. It is saying that it should be limited to a 16 character. It's a warning. It's not something I need to correct, but yes, I will encourage that you do not have longer namespaces or XML alias for these column fields. So what I'll do is like pull this off and full name. Okay. And then run this report from, let's say 0101 1900. I want to get a lot of population this time, and then run. Okay, maybe we have set up a filter. So yeah, nevertheless, you see the full name as like being concatenated as the last name, McNeil, Logan. I hope you are able to visualize how our calculated field performed, right? Any doubts on this, on the calculated field I just showed you? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Okay, one of the other things I would say for you to note is, say we created a cal field. So whenever we are creating an object in Workday, there would be certain things like category and default areas, authorized users would come. But one of the key things you want to focus as integration developers is these reference IDs, because later on these come in handy while migrating from one tenant to another. Say you are HCM consultant or HCM integration, you are working on HCM integrations, and that is happening in one tenant, and parallelly finance is also being built in another tenant, and they also create certain things, similar kind of calculated fields, and the default value of reference IDs has been left in here. Then it will say a duplicate ID, and then it will not allow you to migrate these business objects in from one tenant to the another tenant if the target tenant already has this reference ID. So what we encourage is to put the kind of reference ID that is specific to your use case, and you will say similarly to the name, you can remove this underscores from the name just for demo purposes and use this similar kind of. Okay, so whenever someone is going to create a similar kind of, I would say, calculated field with the same name, it will definitely give them an error that this name is already used, and they will end up creating a new name for the calculated field, and depending on that, their reference ID would also change. So that's why we will always recommend you to have custom built reference IDs for your any of the objects you create, be it integration, be it calculated field. You just put up a custom reference ID so that it does not give you a headache while migrating from lower tenants to higher. Okay, the next thing I will show you is, let's say, a report specific calculated field, and then we will try to see how, or if it is possible. Say I created a report specific calculated field, but later on I'm seeing that I want to use it in any of our different reports as well. So can we convert this report specific calculated field to a tenant wide calculated field or not? So I will create calculated field for report. It will pop up in a new window. So what it does is, like when you create a report specific calculated field from the field column, it will automatically populate the business object you're trying to create the field for. Okay. And this time what I will do is get the higher, put the business object as a naming standard if you want to follow, and then the name field, hire date, and say you want to get it in ADMMYY format. Bill date, all day, different date, constant. And this is where it comes in handy with your experience, like what kind of operation we will be using. So I believe bill date is something we should look forward to if we want to build a specific type of field, and then specific extract year from date field. Of the other type is date and time, and specify year. Okay, I think this will not work in our case. So what we will do is go back, try to create a specific calculated field again. occur hire date dd mmyy, and then I will see if we have something like format date. Okay. So build date is something you want to build a date from a specific date, like choose the current year or a current month, and then format date is like getting the available fields, like a date fields in Workday, and formatting is as per our business requirement. Date, hire date, and then we will specify the format. Okay, and there's a guide for each of the fields if you're going to create, like, see what this will do. If you just hover your cursor over this format mask, it will say like what kind of different values it can accept. It will show you that if you want to get the year, then put a small y. If you want to get the month in the year, then put a capital M. Okay, and if it is small, it will take minutes. So what I did wrong was, if I will go ahead and take this, it will pull up minutes, but instead I want the months, so I'll put up capital M. Similarly, for day in the year, it would be this, day in the month would be small d's, and you have like a whole lot of list that is available for you. Additional info, I will go ahead and with the name, remove this reference ID key. Okay, now you see this has been created, and if I go ahead and save this report, it will allow me to save it. And if I run this report again with the current date, you see the higher dates are coming up. This is 0101 1900, because these are like basic tenant users that have been created. So they will have a 1900 in the starting of the Workday dates. Then we have YYS 13. So whatever format we wanted, if we wanted the full year, maybe we'll put up 4Ys and it will give you the details. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to show you is, say I want to create a report.
Meanwhile, will there be a scenario where you need to use one custom field inside another one?
Right, it is. There can be a situation like you wanted to create a LRV, then LRVs or lookup related value works only on single instance fields. So what you will do is, like, if your source field or the field you are looking for is a multi-instance field, first you will create a ESI or a extract single instance kind of calculated field, put up inside the LRV as the condition, and then get the value. So that will be like a nested calculated field. In other case, if you say there is a evaluate expression, there can be custom conditions like true false conditions. So based upon each of the conditions, a particular output will follow up. So within that also you are using multiple calculated fields. So I'll give you an example of evaluate expression maybe. Okay, after this one.
Do we need to enter reference IDs every time?
I would recommend you change the reference IDs. It will get automatically populated, but all we want to do is not put up the default values, but say because you're doing a similar kind of work and someone else is doing at the same time, and the names end up appearing similar on the different tenants, and while migrating you might have a conflict and it will not allow you. So that is one of the biggest headaches, I will tell you, in terms of experience, that reference IDs mismatch or duplication is the biggest headache when we are implementing a new Workday tenant and then migrating. We are individually working in within our tenant. Say functional tenant would be, integration tenant would be separate. But when we go into SIT, the system integration testing phase, we want to combine everything into one tenant, and that's when we migrate our objects or integrations, right? So at that time, the toughest challenge for us is to just clear these reference IDs so that our integration objects are able to migrate. So that's why we encourage or say as a principle that you maintain or follow a naming standard as well as the reference IDs needs to be unique.
Okay, thanks.
I have a question. So how do we know like what are the calculated fields are there in this tenant? For example, if we have already created one, like for example, developer one already created and the developer two wants to use existing calculated field, not to create a new one.
Right.
So
there are two things. You can either go with view calculated field. Okay, maybe this page is getting timed out. I'm not sure why. I'll take up the fresh one. In the meanwhile, I'll just finish up the activity I was doing to show you how report-based calculated field will behave. So you see, I created this and then I want to use it here and it is not popping up, right? So since this is a report-based calculated field, it is not popping up, but this is a tenant-wide, right? So this should pop up, right? Since it is available for everyone to select. So you see the difference between a report-specific calculated fields and a tenant-wide calculated field. So that's where we encourage to develop everything in tenant-wide levels so that this can be reused. And that's why we have this tab. If you see, once a calculated field has been created, you will see an additional tab. These are already there when creating the cal field, but then where used is something, it comes up. So since I have used the same kind of custom report into integration, it will give me two dependencies where it has been used. It has been used in the custom report and it has been used in the integration system. How in the integration system? Is because this integration system is referencing to this report only. So that's why it will give you all the instances it has been used. If there are multiple fields, save this one. Since this is also using the same calculated field, it will pop up the name as like custom reports and it will give you two usages.
But where do you specify that it is report level or tenant level?
I showed you, I think, Prabhu, while creating, if we create it from the custom report, right? If I'll go ahead and from this report itself, if I'll go ahead and create from here, you see, create cal field for report.
For report, okay.
Right? And if I'll go from the tenant, tenant task, like create cal field, now this becomes okay. So what we were saying is the other one is not available for us to select, right? But there is one thing we can do. We just need to get the name handy, and there is another task which says convert calculated field, convert a system-wide calculated field to the specific report that references it. No, this is the other way around. We want to convert calculated field for a report, okay, which has been created for a report. All you need to do is maybe put name here, put OK. Now it has been changed to a global field. Okay, now if I'll again try to search in the report, this time it should be available for me to select. You see, now it says coming up. Earlier it was not popping up when I put the name and press here. So that's how you change the definitions from a report specific cal field. If you're seeing a report you have already created, but by mistake or maybe knowingly at that time you created a report specific cal field and then later on you want to use it in another report, then this is how you change the report specific cal field to a global cal field. And if you see now, it will say cal field. Otherwise, if there is a report specific cal field, it will show you calculated field for report and the report name. Did you get this task, everyone? Like how to change the different types of cal field? Because this will be a very handy task for you, like whenever you are creating multiple reports and maybe using the same kind of calculated field, this will be a crucial thing for you. Okay, so I think we did this, and I think it was you, right? Like you told me to do an activity, or someone was asking, and I said like I will show you in a while. I'm sorry.
The cal field, nested one.
Okay, yeah. Create calculated field. Okay, I will create a CF eval. Okay, worker, and let me think of an example of what this eval would do. Say, based upon the comp grade level or something. Let me see if that is directly available or not. So for this example, we are using another cal field or the function of the calculated field as evaluate expression. What a evaluate expression does is like have multiple set of conditions, and based upon the set of conditions it will give you a return value. It can be a constant, it can be a text. So first you'll need to define the type of return value you want. So for my case I'm selecting as text. Okay, so default value for this would be, say I want to default anything which is not falling in this use case as A, or maybe it has to be a constant. I cannot directly use condition. Now you create a condition. So if there is a condition available, you can use that, or maybe you want to create a condition again. If worker comp grade is 1 to 4, and since this is a condition, this needs to be a true and false condition. We will see grade if it is compensation grade operator in the selection list. So again, and just moving slowly and seeing all the options available. We have a lot of options available based upon the field we have selected, right? So say if I'll show you the mean or the frequently used ones. Since this is a single instance or a instance field, the kind of options available are for you is to in the selection list, not in the selection list. What not in the selection list would do, like anything you will specify later in the comparison values, it will do the opposite of it. It will just take everything excluding those. It is empty or not empty. I want to like put a condition that the compensation grade should not be empty, then I will use this. So I will go with the in the selection list, and I think this is usually compensation grades are based upon numbers, but this is management level. They have created a lot of
these values that you are right now are populated directly from the compensation grade field.
Right. This is like something which is available in your tenant. This has been right. This is available for like or being configured by your HCM or the compensation partners. Like we want a different kind of compensation grade. Say instead of naming it 1, 2, 3, they are putting different names, right? So whatever is there. So even assigning it to a worker, I would say. I'll show you once. What's great for this worker. So yes, showed you, right? Like if you want to see how any objects would look like, you can go to the worker profile and see the different values it has. Compensation grade, and then I think they have not.
I think it's on the top. Management.
Page. Yeah, this one page and okay. So if you want to say use the same kind of, see if the management is there or not. Sorry, I will search for management, and since this is one of the values available, it will be here, right? Management level 1 and 4. So if the compensation grade is management and management 1, say I would put this condition, right? Now we have selected it is management 1 and management 1, and we want to say create a custom constant worker text constant as say MAN, or maybe I'll give it a name or a number. I will give it X, constant X. We'll use the same business object. We'll use the calculated field as text constant. The text constant, we'll give the text constant X. Okay. So you now see we have within a evaluated expression, which is itself a calculated field, we have two calculated fields just in one of the evaluate expressions. One is checking for the conditions, which is a true and false. So I showed you true and false as well, how to create a true and false. And then there is a text constant cal field. Like anything you want to represent as a text constant, then that can happen here. And say you want to create another condition where say F worker grade is, we selected 1 on 4, I will say from 5 to 8, anything. Just don't go with the name because I'm not sure what all the values are available, but usually if the comp grades are between numbers, say 1 to 8, so we'll create different kind of true and false conditions based upon the levels we want to divide it into true and false condition. Okay, great. I will select now this time not in the selection list. So whatever we did last time, right? Management and management 1 did we select, or I think management 01 is the one we selected. Okay, just go ahead and check it. Management 1, this is not management 01, this is management 1. Ooh. So you can also edit calculate fields. It's not just like you created once and if there is a mistake, you cannot go ahead and all you need to do is like look for that cal field and put the option and go to the related actions and select edit. Similarly, what we did for custom reports. So You go from here, go to cal fields, you see there are options available for you. Is copy a calculated field. So say you don't want to convert it, or maybe since this is the definition of another person and he said I don't want to convert it into a global cal field. So what you can do is like create a copy of this cal field. It will come up something like this. The definition will be copied, everything, and then you can give it your name, any XYZ name, okay, something. And then if you save it now, since that cal field would have been used somewhere in the where used, it will show you the integration objects it has been used in. But then since you have created a new copy, it has not been used here. Now you can make any edits or changes to the existing cal field and not to the original one, so that their reports or their integrations do not get hampered. Okay, again we'll go ahead and create text constant as CF constant as text constant. We will put it as that. Okay, now what we are doing is like anyone who has the comp grade as management or management will come up as X. Anyone who doesn't, like who has a management excluding comp grade excluding the management or management will come up Z, and anything which is not falling in these two categories, say like something like a comp grade is not being entered, that will be defaulted to a value. So evaluate expression will always have a default case, like what we have for if-else statements or any conditional looping. We always have a default value, so that whenever a test case does not fall into any of the conditions highlighted by you, it will always go to a default value.
So based on this condition and calculated field, we can do if else this evaluate. And
Right.
Can we do any looping?
Looping, I think for looping, in the cases of looping, can you give me an example? I'll try to. Because looping is something usually done within I would say, when you do that coding, right? Like you want to increment the number and give it. So we can do that definitely in XSLT, but not like this is something we are prompting or like outputting the values. For looping, we have like conditions within.
XSLT comes in Studio, correct?
No, XSLT can be used in EIBs as well. It can be used in core connectors as well. For EIBs, if you remember, I told you that an EIB is basically divided into three parts. One is get data. Get data can be a custom report or a web service. The second part is transform data. Transform data can be an XSLT or custom transformation, or you can have no transformation. And the third part is delivery. Delivery are multiple options like SFTP, Workday attachment, email, HTTP. There are a whole lot of options available there. So once you use XSLT within a EIB, then there would be a place where you can attach your XSLT, which has been created by you, and transform the results accordingly.
Is that XSLT part of this course?
XSLT would be there. I can see if there is any demo or thing available. Otherwise, once we come to EIBs, I will come up handy with some basic XSLT concepts and functions that can be used.
Thank you.
Okay, so we created this cal field, and I think we are already on top of that. So this would be the last example we will be using, and then maybe I can tell you the LRVs and the ESIs, as I told you, which are very critical or useful, or comes in handy in most of the cases. Demonstrate them to you. I created this comp grade and cal field, which is a nested cal field. And if I run this report, the same parameters, okay, what is happening here? We started, okay. The end date I did not specify, sorry. Okay, it has to be because the server is in Central Time Zone, or I think US Time Zone, so that's why. So you see, we saw the comp grade for Logan McNeil as management. So what we did is, for anyone who belongs to management or management 1, it will give you a X, but this person, if I'll go and search for his ID and look for this person.
So if at all I feel that this report is wrong, how do I debug this? Other than going into the definition and checking the definitions if it is created correct.
I think the only way is to like check the outputs and then say if you are seeing any particular field is giving the wrong output, you will go ahead and see that calculated field definition.
So basically, you need to revisit the object and see if the object is correct.
Right. You do not have because this report or the UI will not have prompts like what is the correct interface. Whatever you have created, it will output accordingly. Okay. So I just wanted to show you, since we all know, we have seen the Logan McNeil's comp grid as management. Now I want to see and go for this dual method, and I go ahead, see the comp, see the compensation. So if you see, the grade is team member, which is not management or management. Why? Management 1 as created by us. So this has come up as it. Any questions on this? Like the last one we did, like evaluated expression. Okay, I will take that as a no. And since we are on overtime for this session, we will continue from here regarding the different kind of cal fields we can do and the most important ones.